Hey girl, this is Denise, and you're watching the Ignite Christian Businesswomen Online Summit, where Christian businesswomen come to learn, network, and ignite their businesses and faith. Girl, I can't wait to see all the ways God's going to show up and speak to you, so let's get this party started.
Hello, my beautiful ladies. This is Denise and Amber Malcom, and we are coming to you inside the Ignite Christian Businesswomen Online Summit. So thank you, Amber, for being my guest today.
Thank you so much for having me. I am so excited to be here.
I am loving Amber's outfit and her backdrop and all of the things. Oh, it's awesome. So for those of you who have not seen one of these videos yet, let me tell you what you're watching. So Ignite is a place where Christian businesswomen come to learn from each other, network with each other, and ignite their businesses. But we also do that through the way we do that's through authentic relationships, right? So I have asked 15 ladies that God laid on my heart to come in and speak to you. And I say it's an interview because I can't really explain it any other way, but it's really a conversation between Amber and I today. She's a ball of fun. You're going to want to stick around for this whole thing. And we are just going to let you learn about Amber. She's going to let you in on some of her business tips and tricks. And we're going to talk about faith. So hang around.
Yes.
All right, Amber. So tell all the ladies actually about you.
Okay. Yes, because if we start talking about my products, people click off real fast. So we're going to start with me. I am a recovering attorney turned accidental hippie. I used to practice law, and I got sick and died almost about 10 years ago now. It's kind of shocking. And that really just put everything into perspective for me as far as like what's important in life and what's not important in life, and started kind of rebuilding my life. I had to give up my practice. I had to close my doors because I had gotten so sick so fast, and I had such a huge caseload that, to be fair for my clients, I just tried to turn over as many cases as I could to other attorneys very quickly so that my clients weren't hurt by having to leave. And as I got better, I thought, I don't think I want to do this anymore. I want to spend time with my kids. I want to, have a healthier lifestyle. And so we started farming, just a little homestead, nothing big, nothing fancy. And my whole family laughed for years. So like out of all the kids, we never thought Amber would live on a farm and have goats. So let me tell you, God has very different plans than I do.
So let's talk about the family a little bit. How many kids?
Three.
Okay.
I hope. That's what I counted last.
Last time I was sure they were all there, right?
I hope so.
I told you love her sense of humor. So let's talk about the farm. Why the farm? Because that wasn't what you did before.
No, I had the big fancy house in the suburbs and all the fancy cars. I mean, I had it all. I thought that was the ticket. I thought I would be happy if I had all these things. And I woke up one day and I was like, wow, I have all these things. And all I have to do now is just keep working. Because if I stop working, then I don't have the things. And I thought, these things, the house, the car, they don't make me happy. I thought I would just wake up one day and be able to buy all these things, and I'd made it. And that was awesome. And after I got sick, I realized those things didn't bring me any joy whatsoever. They weren't worth the headache and the money that they cost to have them at the time. And it was just like, what is important to me? And my family became, my loved ones are the most important thing to me. And as we started building a more natural lifestyle, keeping them safe from the crap in our food, the crap in our cleaning chemicals. I mean, all this stuff became really, really important to me. That it actually started with milk. My kids are obsessed. They drink more milk than I think a baby calf. And I thought, wow, the store-bought milk, is this any good for them? I don't know. And so we started doing research and no. So we started out with just a couple of goats to feed the babies milk. And it went downhill or uphill or all around the hill after that. So.
It sure has. So now we have this farm, and it looks like old McDonald's place, right? We have a little.
Oh my gosh, Yeah. My husband and I dress up as the couple from Green Acres every year because it's so apropos for us. I mean, it's just hilarious. It's just every time we fix something, something else breaks. And every time it is an old farm, and it's this tiny old farmhouse that I'm pretty sure was held together with like duct tape and spackle, and they painted. So we didn't know until we started like doing repairs. We find out that we pretty much bought a house of cards. So, as we were cleaning this, I started making my own cleaning products. But by that point, I had actually started making a lot of my own new things that I used to think grew in grocery stores. Like, I never thought about like ketchup or sour cream or laundry soap. In fact, one time somebody mentioned, you can make your own laundry soap. And I'm like, but why would you? It's at the store. So, I'd never really thought about all the chemicals I was putting into my family and my body and all that kind of stuff. And so that became really important to me, was not exposing me and my family to that kind of harmfulness.
Let's talk about the illness you had first, just a little bit. So touch on that just a little bit so the ladies kind of have a preface for what you went through and how long that process was.
Oh, that was good times. Good times. It was about 9 months. What actually started out was during my second pregnancy, I had what's called hyperemesis. I joke, and this probably isn't a good joke, but I joke it was bulimia because, I just threw up all the time, only it wasn't my choice. It was just what my body was doing. I lost about 80 pounds and my immune system quit working. And so I was having to have PICC lines or intravenous feeding and things placed. But with my immune system not working, I kept getting infection after infection, and I'd end up in the hospital for 2 weeks. And I was sick. These were, systemic infections. They were in my bloodstream. And the last infection I got was actually fungal and not bacteria. And so I lost the sight, or part of the sight in this eye. I had I don't know if you see on the camera, but I have scars all across me from growing tumors all over my chest and things from the infection. It was basically like abscesses. And we didn't know if it crossed the placenta. So we took my daughter 2 months early. She was due in September. She was born in July. And I had to have a bunch of repair surgeries. I think I had like 7 on my eye alone. I lost track. This whole process took about 9 to 12 months before they finally were like, okay, you're going to make it. We know you're going to make it. But for a long time, they just weren't sure. They just didn't know. They said about a 10% chance of survival, and they didn't think I was going to make it for a long time. So it was really, really long and intense and dramatic.
So, okay, now I want to fast forward back to the farmhouse, but I forgot to ask that earlier, and I really wanted you to lay the groundwork for why this became so important to you. Obviously, Absolutely. You almost died, right, which we got, but I know there's a lot of women with health issues going to see this, and I know your story is going to speak to them. So, okay, back to the farmhouse. So you started making all your own stuff.
Yeah. I started making soaps and, like I said, milk, cheese. Cheese is actually kind of fun to make. So I started making all these products, and we had this huge garden, and so we were selling some of our produce at the local farmers market. And I got to researching about cleaning products. I would go in the bathroom and I would clean, and I would have to leave the bathroom and wait for it to air out before I could go back in. And I thought, well, this is really stupid. Aren't we supposed to live healthier? We're supposed to, why am I using all these really harsh chemicals? And so I started researching it, and I am a nerd. Oh, I am a nerd. I love to learn. And so I started researching it, and I found out that most of the chemicals that we use, the cleaning products that we use in this country, are banned around the rest of the world. And they are so toxic. We absolutely shouldn't be using everything that we were raised using. I was never even told it was harmful. I used it by the gallon. I didn't know. And I became really passionate about women not being poisoned by companies that are using the products. May work, but man, they are lying through their teeth when they tell you these things are safe. They are killing us. They are killing us. And I just became really passionate. See, look at this. I'm ripping my face.
She gets really excited about it. I love it.
I really am. I just hate that I was deceived. I hate that I was exposed to all these chemicals. My children were exposed to these chemicals. And I hate that there's to be no transparency on packaging, labeling, or the damage these chemicals can cause. And so I didn't know that back then, but my husband came to me and he said, hey, you should sell these at the farmer's market. And I promise you, my response was, Hell no. I have a doctorate degree and I am not going to be that creepy guy walking around selling cleaning products. I'm not, because we've all had that guy, right? That goes door to door. Hey, you want to buy this orange stuff? You know, a little sketchy, no windows on the van. I'm like, not doing it. That is not, no. So clearly I changed my mind about that once I started doing this research. And so as I was making my cleaning products, I just made them for me, actually. And my husband would steal them and go clean out the really greasy stuff in his shop in the cars. And he's like, Amber, this stuff's amazing. You should sell this. And hell no, not doing it. But finally, we were running out of peaches and potatoes. And so I was like, okay, I'll put a few bottles out. We'll see what happens. And within weeks, I was selling way more cleaners than produce. And Shabby Chick was born. We went to a few craft shows and I would sell out. And I started meeting with business mentors. And I knew nothing about manufacturing or bringing a product to market. My entire background was legal. And so I met with every resource out there in the books, and oh my gosh, there's so many free ones. I love to help women find and connect with the free resources. I think you and I both use REI. I mean, there's so many of those. And so I got a business plan together and I got a model together. And within our first 2 years, I was on the Home Shopping Network twice. We moved into a 6,500 square foot manufacturing facility and had 17 employees. So it was, I hit it hard once I just made up my mind.
So sometimes y'all need to listen to your husbands. I know that's against what we think around here.
Not the message.
I couldn't resist because every woman here is like, he said to go sell what? No. Probably all because it was his idea, honestly. Listen, y'all, this Ignite is about being real, and we are real women. Yes. We love Jesus, but we ain't perfect. That is what you're going to get in here.
No, that is what I love the most about my company name. Because, when I show up later, I forget my clothes or whatever it is that day, I'm like, did you see the name? Did you see the name? Okay, because I feel like that's a full disclaimer right there. It says Shabby Chick. It's all in the name.
Give me the top 3 awards you won, and then I want you to explain some of the process, because there are women I'm going to elaborate a little bit more on this, what it can do for your business, because I'm a believer in it. So tell us the top 3 awards that you've won.
Okay, well, I won the Small Business Association's Entrepreneurial Success Award last year. So I think I'm most proud of that one. That's a big deal. And I also won the REI Innovate Her Women in Business Challenge. So that was a really big deal too. We won the SCORE Small Business Challenge. I would say those are probably my top 3.
Okay.
I would like, what could be the other 6?
Yeah, I was going to say, I made her limit it to 3 because I know that she's won so many. Okay.
I really have.
So, and this is something y'all are going to start seeing me train on, because I understand this. My background is in branding. I've been doing that. I say branding and marketing because marketing goes along with it, but they are 2 separate things. And I love the branding piece. I like it and the brand is you. Okay, that's really what the brand is. That's really my logo. I'm the brand, right? I'm the face. She's the face. The Shabby Chick is the logo. That's the brand. That's the name. Because she's known more by that than Amber. She's known as the Shabby Chick, right?
Yep.
Okay. How did you win these awards? There's a process. How do you find them? And then what? And I love how you answer this question. I already know the answer, but I want the ladies at home to hear this, because when you build a brand, it needs to be you. Okay? And I'm going to say that before she answers the question. Okay. How did you find them? And how did you win them?
I find a lot of them by Googling, really. It's part of my weekly process. I have certain rituals, I guess, or things. And so I'm always looking for ways to promote my brand. So I just sit down once a week or once a month, especially at the beginning of the year, and start looking for contests and anything that I qualify for, any kind of funding, any kind of promotional thing. And I put them into my calendar. So I watch the dates. And actually, a lot of times I can recycle material too. I can take one application and do it really well and recycle that material for other applications. So the first thing is just honestly, just Googling. There's websites out there all over the place that will even tell you where to find more. things. Like they'll have lists and lists of where all these contests are. And a lot of them are pretty standard. They come around every year. Like there's a FedEx one. And so if you just watch your calendars, you just need to take some time to look for them. And again, Google is all I use. And regularly look for them. New ones pop up all the time. You can find new ones this way. And so looking for them is, I mean, just simply, it's pretty easy.
So wait, I'm going to back up to the looking for them, because people are going to say, well, I've looked online for these things and I can't tell which ones are spammy and which ones aren't. Do you have any advice about that?
Yeah, I would check and look. There's like a NAV business grant that I think has been around for a long time. A lot of places promote it, but you know, we've applied a bunch of times and we kind of think that's random. There's nothing to who they pick. But then you can, if you find one, Google it, because there's like things like, I think the Stevie Awards are very legit, but then there's also ones that are called like the small business ones. And you're basically just paying to win those awards. I mean, you sign, and so if you have to pay anything, it's not legit. Now that's not true. There's one called an Amber Grant, which it's not it's a coincidence.
Is it yours?
It's called an Amber Grant, and I do think they have a nominal like $10 or $15 processing fee that they do ask you to pay. I have paid for that one, but other than that, you should never have to pay any money, and you might want to do some like peripheral research. If you find one, go to a couple professional Facebook groups and things like, I'm a member of a lot of professional Facebook groups, and say, hey, have you heard of this? Hey, have you heard of this? And you ask around. Anything that comes like says it's from Kevin Harrington or Shark Tank or anything really famous, count that as spam almost instantly. I get tons and tons of the real Kevin Harrington or the real, that kind of stuff. That's not legit. Ask around, because the really well-known ones, people will have heard of them and they're really easy to verify. All of them, they usually should give you contact information right there. And before you put a lot of time and effort into answering, do make sure it is real. But if you have to pay, it's not real.
Undo it. Okay. All right. Now let's talk about how you got these. You won them.
Oh, I got them. Okay. Well, like I said, in the beginning, I went to a lot of mentors and I said, hey, how do I do this? How do I bring a product to market? How do I start manufacturing and all this stuff? And they give me lots of good ideas. And I did it, but I always did it with this, like, I felt like I had to be what they thought I should be. I thought my business should look like it should look, and I should have a certain image. And I said, have a certain, basically a lot less irreverent than I am. And and I should chase after these markets. What I found is I might see some initial success with that strategy, but I see no long-term success. It was not until I owned who I was and really found out who I was as a company, who I was as CEO, and really started owning my role as the owner of this company, as the founder, and it's going to reflect my personality and character, that we really, really started seeing success. And so it was really coming out and saying, I may think that people think I shouldn't say cuss words, or I shouldn't, crack inappropriate jokes sometimes, or, these kind of things, these ideas, these rules that we get in our head, that if you think about it, nobody said these to you. Nobody said, maybe you did. If you live in the South, maybe somebody really did.
Maybe somebody really did. Yeah. Your mama said, don't say that, girl.
Nobody sat you down and said, oh, nobody's going to like you if you say a cuss word on national television. We just think that. We're so scared of offending people that I think that we become really inauthentic. And it was not until I really owned who I was, and as a company, that we were able to really, I think, start like winning the contest more authentically. I didn't try to answer the questions like they thought they wanted. I would literally start answering questions like, hold on, I'm about to talk about cleaning products, don't go to sleep. And I think that catches people's attention. I mean,
it catches my attention.
That's literally how I would start writing the grant, because nobody wants to read about laundry soap. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about cleaning products. I realize I'm a weirdo, and I realize I've been the weirdo standing on the street corner on my soapbox for about 5 years now. That's okay, because now I'm the cool kid. But before
now it's all popular.
I used to travel. We traveled, oh my gosh, all over with the company. And I would walk through these beautiful craft shows, with these beautiful displays. And I would say, God, why can't I be the fudge lady? Why can't I be the mustard? I love mustard. I have this weird obsession with mustard. I love mustard. Why can't I be the mustard? I love mustard. Why can't I be the mustard lady? And all the time I'm like, that's so much more fun. You know how hard it is to sell laundry soap when ladies came to buy shoes and jewelry and fudge. It's so hard. And I'm like, why laundry soap? God, I don't even like to clean. I actually passionately hate cleaning. I mean, like, God has the weirdest sense of humor. Him and my dad 5 years later are still laughing that I make cleaning products, because they're like, you have to use them too. No, I just make them.
Nope, sure don't. They got people that do that, right? Like, yes. I got people. They call kids, husbands, house cleaner, whatever. But we got people.
Yes. They're not paid. They're just people. But yeah, and I would just walk through these craft shows, and I would just, why? I'm like, oh, laundry soap. Seriously, this is ironic and weird, and and it was really cool because a few months ago, it's really cool because I'm at a stage in my company where I really feel like everything I've worked for 5 years is falling into place, and we have had a lot of failures. When I say a lot, I mean a lot. I mean, I think I sometimes think more than our fair share. I'm not fair share, but more than most, maybe. We, like I said, we were on the Home Shopping Network within 2 years of inventing the product, and we're like, yeah, this is awesome. And then it didn't sell. People called, and they called it back about a year later and said, hey, do you want to buy your inventory back? And we're like, you got it. Let's go. What you don't hear, you hear all the exciting things. We went on the Home Shopping Network and we did all this. What you don't see is that didn't really work out for us. Part of it, if you've ever seen the movie Joy, I did not step in and say, no, I need to do this and this and this with the product. I let them try to tell me what to do, and it failed. It wasn't my authentic self. It wasn't scripted, but it was very, very controlled. I didn't have a lot of latitude to say what I wanted, and so it didn't work. It just didn't work. It wasn't the right demographics. And I knew going into the deal, it was not the right demographics, but I had stars in my eyes. And I mean, for God's sake, it was the Home Shopping Channel who says no. Exactly. And so we just got all excited, and I ignored, that this is not our demographics. This is, I ignored all the, like, hey, we want you to display it like this. And I'm like, that won't work. And they wouldn't listen to me. And it ended up not working. And I had red flags, I had warning signs, and I ignored it all. So it was a really, really, really big, expensive learning curve. But the cool thing is that God has taken us down so many different roads and closed so many doors on this 5-year journey. And what is really cool is sometimes they hurt. Sometimes I was glad they closed. And sometimes it was a big loss. But what's really cool is none of it was wasted. None of it was wasted. We're going through right now and going through everything that we're going through right now. I have 5 years of failures to go, hey, wait, if we fix that, that'll work now. And if we fix that, that'll work now. And so I just love being able to sit back and like really be grateful for all the closed doors and all the dead ends, because when stuff is working, you don't mess with it. The Zoom call is working, so we're not twiddling with the volume or the earplugs or any of that, because it's working. And a business is the exact same way. When things are going well, you just don't move. It's kind of like baseball and superstition. You don't change your socks. You don't change your underwear. You don't
trust me. I was a ball player, and I raised 2 girls that are ball players.
So yeah, it's so exactly. And so when a business is failing, when it's not working, when the sales aren't there and the doors are about to close, that's when you find out what you're made of. That's when you find out how bad you want it, how hard you're going to work, and what you're going to give up. And until you go through that, you're just playing.
Yeah,
you're really just playing.
For real. And I love that, because there is something magical to me about a 5-year mark in business, which I'm getting. There is. And people don't, you read all the business books and they tell you these things, and you get some success early on and you think, yeah, I'm making it. It's going good. And then I have a failure and it's not. But then you hit this, like you hit your stride about there. And I see women do it in business all the time as a business coach, or even with the businesses that I just go in and I consult with them. And you know, okay, you're about to hit your stride. You've done all of these things. You know what doesn't work for you. You know, like God is that, he gives you that success, but he plucks the weeds. And then he gives you success and he plucks the weeds. And so, like our spiritual growth, eventually we hope that we get to a point where there's less plucking and more growing. But you're right. If it doesn't push us out of our comfort zone, so, you know, you're right. Oh, it's going good. It's great. It looks amazing. Let's just let it run. So you never try anything new. And I was just on another interview, and the lady has a turtle, a pet turtle. And I said, you know, they're one of my favorite animals. And she said, why? And I said, because they never get anywhere without sticking their neck out. That's why I love turtles. They're a metaphor for me. And I have stuck in my neck out and had it chopped off a lot.
Oh yeah.
But
yeah, you do have to be, that's, you know, you have to be resilient. And it's like saying you have to breathe, you have to eat, and you have to sleep. It's just so entrenched and part of being an entrepreneur. One of the things I think that's most impactful to me is you hear the story of Thomas Edison and how it took him, was it 1,000 tries or 10,000 tries to invent the light bulb? But we hear this story since we're young, so we don't think too much about it. But imagine getting up every day. On day number 1 through 100, you're like, this is cool, I'm gonna invent the light bulb, right? But when you get to try 5,962, how do you feel? How do you think your family's laughing at you? Your friends are laughing at you. Your house is getting repoed. Your cars are getting repoed. Everybody's laughing at you. Are you still going to go another 4,000 tries? You know? And if you aren't there, if your heart's not in it, you probably won't see any kind of level of success. You really have to just buckle down and say, this is what I want. I don't care what people say. I don't care about it hurts. I don't care how much I lose. This is what I want, and I'm not going to stop until I get it. And until you have that mindset, call Walmart and ask if they have a job, because life will be far less painful. And I don't mean that to be mean. I'm saying it to save you the heartache of being an entrepreneur.
Yeah. I mean, you know, and I think it's different because I know the younger version of me. I've owned a lot of businesses over the years, and like my grandmother will tell you this. She's like, you quit when it almost makes it. And so this last over the winter, I did a lot of work with God on me because I knew there was something to that, and I've known it for a long time, but it was just some time I needed to address that. And there was some deep-rooted issues in there, but it wasn't that I was afraid of success. It was a power thing for me in feeling powerless. And so when I get to the point I feel powerless, I would say, okay, let's sell this. Let's move on. But I'm an idea girl. And so, but you know, like people like Walt Disney, how many times did he go bankrupt before he created Disney World? And, you know, the cartoon characters and all the things, you hear those stories so many times. And the thing I want to say about what Amber just said is this, y'all, if that desire is from God, you can't quit. Now, there are things that we get into on our own.
You can try.
Yeah.
You can try. You don't know how many times I've said, that's it. I'm done. We're closing the doors. And I meant it. I meant it. And God just laughed. Yeah, like you weren't going to sell cleaning products, lady. You haven't figured out.
You can go try to do something else, but you will not be content. No, the difference is sometimes we get ahead of God or we get out of God's will a little bit. And I think, you know, when you're out of it, hey, this really ain't what I'm supposed to do. Like, I knew when I stepped into my calling 4 years ago, I know for 18 years, God called me to speak in the lives of women. First of all, I was like, God, I was raised on a ranch with all men. I don't really like women. So that's kind of a joke, right? I said, okay, finally I said, okay, if you want me to do that, you got to give me a heart for them. And he said, well, when you learn how to love yourself, like I love you, loving them will be easy. And it took us 18 years. And then it was time for me to step out. And I thought, okay, I'm going to be a speaker. But he wouldn't let me go back to school to go to seminary. Never had that desire, barely graduated high school. But I kept saying, well, this is the only thing I know to do. And I knew it was something Christian business or Christian women at the time. And I walk and I walk and I walk. And it's 2 years into that part of the walk of stepping out in that calling and speaking that God said, no. It's Christian. Because I was having a hard time giving up the business side of me because I love business. Like I'm a nerd about it. Mm-hmm. And I love the development and all the pieces. And God said, no, you're missing it. It's not one or the other. It's both. it's Christian business women. It's not Christian or business. And I went, oh, and a whole new world opened up for me, y'all. And so I think sometimes you've got to, but you've got to keep walking. Like Amber said, you've got to keep going. And it takes that faith to drive you, but it's that God-given desire that makes you keep going and knowing, oh yeah, there are days you shut that door and you're like, I ain't never walking back in there. We're done. And the next morning you get up and you go, yeah, let's go do it again.
You go back in. Yeah, that's just it. And it's sometimes, some days, I'll be honest, there's so many days I had to drag myself in, drag, grumpy, griping, bitching the whole way. And I get here and I open the door and the magic starts. And God said, see, I told you, you just had to show up today. You didn't have to save the world in a day. You didn't have to sell $5 million today. You didn't have to reinvent the wheel or build a city. I just needed you to show up today. That's all I needed. You know, that's not true every day, but some days, man, some days really you just showing up, and that's hard. I think as women, we are responsible for everything. You know, if you have kids, if you have a husband, if you have a house, you're responsible for everything. We have this sense of responsibility that we need to take care of everything. And so as a business owner, it can be very difficult to balance that. What do I leave in control of God and what is my job? It can be very confusing and hard to discern, I think, at times.
It is. And I can tell you, in the times that I bailed out, all those times too soon, I wasn't walking with God. And when I started really focusing on God and asking him, and not to say that, you know, just, I think we always say that, well, I was praying. I was just praying. Well, that is the most important thing you do, is offer it up to God, you know, but we go to God in prayer and we go to God and say, okay, handle the finances of this. It's your business. But we never, ever really put him in our business other than that. And I think that's, to me, where I had the most growth was when I started inviting him into it. Every day was a walk with him through it. And y'all hear me say this in other videos, but I am a big vision girl, and I couldn't see the vision, like the big picture. I had an idea, but I couldn't see it. And I usually can see it so clearly. And then I create the action plan and work backwards. And this time God said, no, you take the next step. Well, God, I'm not a speaker. How am I going to create a one sheet? How am I going to give these people what they need? I don't have a speaking reel. And God said, take the next step. And every time I would ask, he'd show me the next step, and we'd take the next step. And here I am 4 years later. And now Ignite has been born, and I've met all these amazing ladies that I did not know 4 years ago. And so it's just God's way of working out. And I think you're right. Where is he? And he's always in the details, but we forget to just slow down, spend some time with him and say, okay, what is it you want? Because I'd a lot rather put it on his shoulders. I'm like, here, you got it. Let's go.
I think as women, we are, I think, sometimes more easily intimidated by the thought of jumping out and doing things like starting our own business or putting ourselves out there. In fact, I meet a lot of business women that are scared to even do a live on Facebook or something like that. And I'm like, if you can't put yourself out there, you need to stop right now, because you have to have confidence in yourself and what you're doing. And you have to love yourself. You have to respect yourself, or you're not going to be able to handle the position. It's just one of those, you can't fake, you can fake it till you make it to a certain point, but at some point you're just going to spin your wheels and you're just going to go in circles until you really own who you are and step into that role and say, this is how it's going to go. And then say, oh, by the way, God, is that okay with you?
Yeah.
So,
sorry, I got ahead of you there. Yeah. No, I've never done that a million times in a day.
I think we look at women that were successful and say, well, God just answered all her prayers. And we don't see that for 5 years. She worried about, for me, we're going to make our house payment. God, we don't have any food. We don't have, they see all the successes and they see all the glitz and glamour of the TV and the news interviews and stuff. They don't see how many times, a long time ago, I used to cry every night to sleep. Oh, God, how are we going to make it? How are we going to make it? There's no money. We're going to lose our house. We're going to da-da-da-da-da. Until you can finally get to a point, and God sat me down and said, Amber, do you live in a tent? No. So you have a roof over your head and you have food on your table. You've always had enough. It may not have been what I wanted. It may not have been all that I wanted, but I've always had enough. And it was really cool because I would laugh and joke sometimes in my moments of clarity, and I'd be like, we are literally living on nothing but faith right now. Literally. I mean, there were times I had to be somewhere and I didn't have the gas money to drive. And 10 minutes before I was supposed to leave, a sale would come through and I would have the money to get places. It was, it was struggle. It was struggle after struggle. And I think as business women, we think we have to put on these pretenses and we have to look perfect and we have to, have this image that we have it all together. And I think we're hurting our sisters by doing this because they think, hey, she got all her ducks in a row. She knows what she's doing. And we don't show people the other 95% of it, which is tears and screaming and pulling your hair out. And
gnashing of teeth, all the things.
Yeah. And so we get in that position and we think we're the only one. We think we're the only one in this position. We're embarrassed. We're ashamed. We feel like failures. I mean, we internalize a lot of these things as business women. I think sometimes we really need to come together. I mean, I always believed a rising tide raises all ships, but I think just in coming together and saying, this is really hard for you too, right? You have problems with this too, right? It's not just me. I think just having that shoulder of somebody who understands, who's walked through it, is one of the most relieving feelings in the world. When you can sit there and go, wait a second, you've had to declare bankruptcy? Holy cow, are you kidding me? Yeah, it's okay. You survive. You know what? God brings you through all of it and better. I mean, I love finally being at a place right now when something I perceive as bad instantly happens. A shipment doesn't show up, somebody gets sick, something. And I've gotten to the place in my faith where I might instantly, knee-jerk reaction, but I have learned that the coolest things come out of the crappiest situations. And so now when I'm faced with these crappy situations, I'm like, wait a second, God always shows up and does the coolest stuff. And so I actually have learned to get a little excited. And so it's kind of hard as we go through this pandemic not to show my excitement, because I love the level of connection that it's bringing to people. I love that we're really evaluating what's important. I love all the time that I'm getting to spend with my family, even though it's at work. I mean, it's just, it's giving us an opportunity to change what's important to us as individuals and as families and as a country. And I just, when these really awful things like this happen, I just see the opportunity there. I just see like, oh man, God is about to show up and do something crazy big, and I cannot wait to see what happens. And so I'm kind of the odd duck when it goes to these really hard things. Sometimes that's when I get my most excited, because I'm like, it's, that dumb saying, it's always darkest before the dawn. That is so true. And when you go through enough heartaches in life, when you go through enough loss, you're like, these really crappy times are always what leads to the best times. Really, from that day on, like, I had investors start calling me as I was pulling into the lunch parking lot, and it's been nonstop since then. And the company has just blown up. I mean, our sales are out of this world compared to what they were. Now, I recently had to take some time off again to deal with an illness. And so I was out 3 months. And so we were gearing up for basically a brand relaunch and a whole new relaunch when all this hit. And it was like, well, no time for that. Here we go.
Here we are.
And what's really funny is I'm known for my cleaner. Obviously, I told you that was the first thing I invented, was our all-purpose cleaner. And I had come out with many, many products over the years and discontinued them. And it's just my favorite part of the job is developing products and seeing if they sell, and if they don't sell, we pull it. And last year I was like, I haven't invented any new products in a while. I want to come out with 3 new products. So last year I came out with a hand sanitizer, a dish soap, and this stuff I call stink stopper. And again, we've had a million products. I mean, not like a million, but I promise you, we've had over 100 SKUs in the history of our company. I love inventing products. And so we've had lots of things come and go over the years. And so it's just crazy and funny and hysterical to me that I did all the rework and development of getting a hand sanitizer last year and getting the FDA registration and all. I mean, it was a lot of work. It was the hardest product I had ever brought to market, just for the legal side of it, because it's a very, very highly regulated product. But I wanted one. I did it. And it's just crazy to me, after all these years and after all these products, that's the one that's bringing us to market. So you never know. Yeah, I mean, you just never know. And it's really, really funny how God works things out. And God does close doors, but I think he leads us to those doors to slam them in our face to learn things. I look back at so many times we were in negotiations with big companies to sell our recipes, and doors would get shut, or we get on the Home Shopping Network and then it doesn't sell. I mean, I was like, why did we have to go through that? And I wasn't not like, why me? Why? But like, what's the lesson here? What was I supposed to learn? I don't understand. I don't understand why. And now it's really cool because after having the door slammed in your face for 5 years, there's a lot of doors down that hallway. And right now I'm able to go back through and open them all up and go, okay, we did this, but we can do it faster, better like this. And so what it was teaching me how to do it, but not going down that path right then. My path is now, but it wasn't then. And if I had pursued it, I would have been out of God's will. And so I think it takes that 5-year mark to get that perspective. I mean, I remember when we first started, we're like, nobody will talk to us until we're 2, and I don't understand. And then you get 2 and you're like, oh, I get it. Yeah, nobody wants to talk to you till you're 2 because you don't know anything. You're like an obnoxious teenager that thinks they know everything and you don't know anything, right? But you hit that 5-year, and by then, if you figured out who you are as the CEO, if you figured out who your company is, you figured out your niche, you figured out what you're doing, where you're going, how you're going to get there, man, that is when that's gold. That is when everything falls in line. That's when you're fulfilling your purpose. That is when you and God just become like synergy. And that is a place, like, it's an amazing place to be. And I love it. And when you finally get there, you can be grateful for all those really god awful things. And you realize how big God is for forgiving you for all the god awful things you said when you were in those places too. Believe me,
we're real on here, girls. We ain't lying about that.
Believe me, I've said some things to God I wouldn't say to my husband.
But he knows our heart, so it's not like you couldn't see him if we didn't say him.
That's just it. It's just brutally honest, because I was raised Southern Baptist. And so I was raised with this little tiny God that was kind of like a Coke machine. You'll have these prayers, and if you ask for things, maybe you get them and maybe you don't. And I was never taught a relationship, It wasn't until I actually got away from the church and started raising my children that I really got the concept of who and what God is and what our purpose and what we're supposed to be. And when God says, my favorite Bible verse is God is love. Because I think about the metaphysicalness of that. Like, God is love. So when I have an act of kindness, I smile at a stranger, I buy someone a cup of coffee, I am literally passing God on to them. I don't have to say anything. I don't have to do, it's that genuine act of love. That is how we show the world what, and that is how we spread God. It's not what we say, it's how we do. Not even necessarily what, but how we do what we do that becomes important, and how we make an impact and show people what God is. Because in Oklahoma, we have a lot of religion. And God doesn't like religion. I don't like religion. So it's not my thing. I mean, I think there's a church absolutely serves a purpose, and that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about just the religious act of doing to do. I think it's funny when we talk about prayer. My prayer life looks nothing like what I was raised. Let me tell you, my prayer life is it's an actual ongoing conversation all day with God. And it's every emotion from happy, joy, gratitude to all of the worst ones. I mean, all of it, because it was just brutal honesty. And I realized God made the universe. He can take my outrage. Right. It's genuine. It's authentic. It's real. It's not some contrived words I think I say so I can get what I want. It's a relationship that we have. And I have a relationship with my husband, and I have a relationship with my children. And so that's, I finally, after making those connections in my family, really understood who God is and what our purpose here is. And we really, really, really were just put on this planet to love each other. We really freaking were. And that's it. And so my favorite Bible verse is God is love. And so I'm telling you, if you just implement that, when you're in business, if you just remember the fun and the joy of it, then all the awful things, you'll get through them. I remember coming into this with this wild-eyed, childlike excitement. I had no clue what I was doing, and I didn't care. I was really excited about doing it, I was like, okay, let's do this, yeah, And I lost that somewhere along the way. And when I did, I lost a lot. I lost my sales. I lost employees. I almost lost my company. And it wasn't until I got that wild childlike wonderment and put it back in God and said, okay, we're going to make laundry so fun again, because nobody likes laundry. So let's be honest here. And it took almost a year, but it took me a year to get my passion and my focus and my love back for it, because I just burnt myself out trying to please everybody and be everything to everybody and chase down every lead. And it's almost like I took a year last year to just really nail down what I want. I tried a lot of things to figure it out, a lot of things to figure out what it was I wanted and who I want to go. And now it's just falling into place, and it's almost magical, but I know that it's God. And then it's amazing now, because like I said, there was times we never knew how we were going to get places or buy food. And now every time I turn around to like grab something off the shelf, there's one more. And I'll be like, I swear there wasn't any left. I knew I was out, and there's what I need and one more. Every time. And it just, every day God is like, do you remember the loaves of bread and the fishes? And now I always had enough, but now there's always going to be more than enough. And I'm entering a new season right now. And I just love it. Wow, it's true. It's true. Everything's true. If you ever doubted your faith.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I love that, you know, and even for me, so you and I have a similar story. Last year, God has you developed this hand sanitizer. You don't know why, but you just are of a burden to finish it, get it approved by the FDA, all the things. And then COVID, whatever this thing's called, coronavirus is hitting. The COVID-19, Denise, say it right. So the COVID hits, and what is flying off the shelves? And Amber is able in her production to make this really quick pivot into this product that she hadn't been selling. She had it ready, but she wasn't selling it. And so I think there is a lot to be said for that when you get that burden. I had the summit on my heart I've looked at summits for the last 4 years, but about 2 years ago, when Ignite started being born, I could see this a little bit. I didn't know that it was going to be, God took me from having in-person groups where I did a training and a networking, and we met once a month and the girls got to know each other and all this stuff. God shifted that back for me in November, and like we started having issues with the venues, and like these were growing. Like we had one and we were working on 2 and 3, and then all of a sudden it was just like a stop, Denise. And I went, oh, okay, why? And it was, I want you to go online. I want you to do the in-person thing, but you're going to do that once a quarter, and it's going to be a bigger event. I want you to go online. That's what I've taught you for the last 8 years how to do, is to be the social media girl. That's what you go speak all over the place about. And I went, okay. And so in January, we started planning the summit. You want to tell me God isn't in the details? Oh, I never could have guessed that there would be women sitting at home, that this captive audience would be sitting here looking on their phones and on their computers and have more time to really soak all of what these ladies come in here and share and teach you. I didn't know that. I just was doing what I knew the next step was.
Exactly. I didn't know why I needed a hand sanitizer, you know? And what's funny is, out of all the products, you know, that we've ever made, that particular one, you know, we had no equipment to mass produce it. We had no recipes to mass produce it. We were making them one at a time because they just weren't a big deal, you know? Because of everything God has taken us through over the 5 years, we were able to ramp up production from 100 a day to thousands a day within 4 weeks. Within 4 weeks, we got the machines, the equipment, the ingredients, everything. You can't do that when you start out. There's no way I could have done that up until this point. It took all of those lessons to get to where I could come back up with a product like that.
Well, just talk about the connections of the resources that you had to have to make that happen, because guess what? Everybody decided to start producing now.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's just it all that, like we used to do retail a long time ago, which now we're pivoting back into retail. But throughout the course of the retail, we had gotten grants to do exporting, and we had made all these connections with the Department of Commerce and the Chamber of Commerce and all these. And then for years, I never reached out for them. They didn't reach out to me. There was no need. We didn't need each other. And now 2 and 3 years later, after having made those connections, they are invaluable to me. So you never know when someone you meet, it could be 5 minutes, and those are the easy ones. Oh, God put you in my path. But the really cool ones are the ones that are 3, 4, 10 years down the road. You're like, oh, how funny, how funny. One of my favorite stories. I think as women, I think we do a pretty good job of this. But I surround myself with some amazing women, so I might be a little biased. But women tend to be pretty accepting and stuff like that, but they can also be pretty judgmental. And my husband and I are, like I said, we're hippies. We don't really judge people. We're kind of blue jeans and flip-flop people, and we go to a lot of events and we travel all over the place. And at this one event, it was a big award. I already mentioned it, but we'll talk about it again. When they'd taken us to dinner at this fancy hotel, there was a guy sitting there in a faded Hawaiian t-shirt and blue jeans. And we're like, that's our people, man. We're going to sit with this guy. We're gonna go sit with this guy. And so we're just laughing and joking with this, everybody we meet, you'd think we'd known him 20 years. And we're sitting there, and hour or two later, they start announcing the next speaker, and they're like, yeah, so-and-so of the Where's the Beef campaign for Wendy's, one of the biggest, and they're just going down his resume. And I'm like, wow, we get to meet this guy. And they announced his name, and the guy was sitting there, stood up, walked to the front.
The guy in a Hawaiian shirt. Oh my gosh.
Yes! The keynote speaker. He was actually John Pietro of the Where's the Beef campaign, has a massive marketing campaign, and had just retired. And so it agreed to come out and speak at this big event. But he's like, I'm retired, so I'm not dressing up. And they're like, we don't care.
And you also know that as Baptists, the Southern Baptists, the one thing you need to get into heaven is a covered dish. So
yeah.
We definitely need that. So you better be able to cook, girls. And I don't know what my husband's gonna make biscuits and gravy because that's his specialty. I'd be like, here, God, here you go. Other than that, he's not gonna have a covered dish to get in heaven. But
yeah,
that's so funny. Oh, Amber, this has been amazing. I cannot wait. I don't even know how long we've been going, how much of this I'm going to have to edit.
I have no idea either. This has been so much fun. I was like, she's going to have to edit a lot of this.
I'm like, we need to do this live. Like, seriously, I can't wait to go
I really do sometimes do a little better. I mean, I like the recorded too because you can edit and stuff, but I do really well live. For some reason, I get a better energy.
Oh, I do too. I love live video. That's my jam. So, okay, you have an offer or a gift for the ladies. Let me say that. You have a gift for the ladies.
Oh, yes, that's right. That's it.
Will you tell us about your gift?
Okay, so one of my life philosophies is rising tide raises all ships. So the code is RISE because I want us all to learn, especially through this summit, to rise together. And so the code is RISE, R-I-S-E, and it is 15% off all purchases. And it's kind of an unlimited, so, I mean, you can't use it, for a year or something, but you could use it as many times as you want. I think it's set to go for 2 or 3 months. So it'll be active and it'll be a good code for quite a while. We'll leave it active for a little bit. So it's just RISE. Oh, and my website is Shabby Chick Cleaners. If you'll see on my little, where's my hair? It's a CHICK. It's Shabby Chick Cleaners. plural.com on our website, and you'll use the code RISE there and you get 15% off all your purchases.
And we will drop that excited. Since it's recorded, it'll be, I think, below this video. You can put around here, you'll see the link, you'll see all of her information. And I know there's a lot of you ladies trying to do the more all natural thing. And so she has really great products. It's amazing to me how powerful they are. And we didn't talk about this, but I will.
We didn't even talk about the cleaners.
Go ahead.
One little pitch.
Go ahead.
So again, I was a practicing attorney, so believe me, there are other things I could do with my life besides sell laundry soap. I have options, ladies. Crap! I lost my train of thought again. This keeps happening.
Laundry soap. Pitch. You were gonna pitch something.
Okay, 2 requirements with my cleaners. First of all, they had to be 100% natural. It's the dyes and fragrances that are killing you and your kids and everything. So we don't use any of that. So when I made my products, I had 2 criteria. One is they had to be 100% natural and safe. And 2, it had to work better than leading brands because I was buying all these green cleaners and they sucked. Frankly, they didn't work. I was spending more on them and they didn't work near as well as the stuff. So when I invented my line, the whole purpose behind my line is to provide effective, highly, highly, highly effective cleaning products because I hate cleaning, and said that they're completely non-toxic. And so that is everything that we have is 100% natural, 100% safe, and 100% effective. We've actually had clinical testing done, and we do outperform leading brands. There's my sales pitch. There it is.
Atta girl. She got it in there. Yeah, we got so wrapped up. We didn't talk about that. So thank you. But you guys are definitely want to use that coupon. You want to get on there. She's got a bug spray that's out of this world. So make sure you get some of that along with the rest of your household cleaning products. And
we came out with a waterproof one too, a waterproof insect repellent. Okay, I'm not a camper, ladies, and I went camping, and I put it on in the morning and the night. Didn't get any bites. That's it. Twice a day. It's waterproof. You can get in and out of the lake. Everything. It's amazing.
Oh, awesome, awesome, awesome. Okay, well, there is your free gift from Amber. So make sure you take advantage of that because that is a big, big deal. And then I'm gonna ask Amber if she will pray for us as we get out of here today.
Absolutely. Oh, thank you, God, so much for this opportunity. And for me, like Denise, I was raised that I didn't think I liked women, and I found out we're all pretty cool. And I just hope that we really, truly all can come together and see all the amazing value we can bring to each other, and truly help us see the philosophy that we can all do so much more together than we can individually. And so my hope and prayer for all of us now is that you will find some way to keep us all connected and help each other support and raise each other up for your good and your benefit. Thank you. Amen.
Amen. All right, sister. Thank you so much for being on here. I appreciate it. It was wonderful.
Oh, thank you so much. I just love this.